Hey everyone, it's Jim
and Charles
from Mellow amps. So it's time to do something a little bit trickier now that you've kind of warmed up and you're starting to, get your chops. So go ahead and grab the two RCA setting tools, and we're going to borrow the M3x16 flathead machine screws just for the moment. We're going to need these back in the kit, so don't chuck them away. Grab your two RCA jacks and go ahead and get the nuts off.
And put them aside somewhere safe. Don't lose them.
Yeah, we don't put spare nuts in the kits, though we do have spare nuts in the shop. So now, caution everybody. These things roll. No, caution everybody. We don't want to put the wrong jack in the wrong hole. So white is left, and R stands for red, which is the right channel. So let's just work with the right side. And you notice how the conductor solder tab is sort of a half round, so we're going to put them both on the same way. It doesn't have to be done this way, it just looks neater. I'm fussy, but not really fussy, so I would encourage you to be just slightly fussy, and then your build will look good.
So let's just backtrack here just for a second. So you start by dropping the jack in, and then you have to lift it up slightly as you slide the tool in to hold it. And then you can screw down the truss head screw, and it's going to hold it onto the board in the right spot.
Yeah, and these M3 mounting holes, just like for the fuse holders, they're already pre-tapped for you. So we're just going to do one, and you just have to lightly snug this down. Don't over torque this. Notice how I'm not using a big screwdriver. Now, this is really important. You want this jack to be totally vertical, so 90 degrees to the board in this direction and in this direction. So to verify that, I'm going to turn the board sideways and look at it like this in relationship to this plane here, the PCB. PCB this is the thickest board we can buy, so they're really nice and stiff. So they won't flex a lot. And then we're going to look in this plane and check. And I'm a little crooked, but yeah, that looks pretty darn good. It doesn't have to be absolutely precise, it just should be close.
And the tool should be getting it there too.
And I'm going to double check before I start soldering. Red, I can't see the red, but I can see that the left over here, which is the white, doesn't have the red in it, so we're good. Is that confusing? I hope not.
I hope not.
Yeah, so check. You're probably going to check all your work as you progress 3, maybe even 4 times. That way we won't make a mistake.
Especially on components like this, where once it's soldered in there, it's basically not coming out.
Okay, so I think we're going to do the center post a little bit cooler, around 460 C, that's our standard temperature, which is about 680 Fahrenheit. We want to be really careful not to get solder or flux down the contact area. Now we're going to clean these when we're all done the job as our final cleanup, but the less we put in now, the less we have to clean up, because we don't want a poor contact for our electrical signal coming in.
So just a touch of flux there.
Yeah, you want the very smallest amount. And what we want to do, let me see if I can get you oriented well. What we want to do is we want to solder on the back side, not on the hole. So I'm going to heat it up here, and I'm just going to flow some solder nicely, and that's it. We're in and we're out, and it looks pretty darn good. Maybe slightly cold. Maybe I wasn't on there long enough. I'm just going to hold for a little bit longer until it, there, you saw? I don't know if you saw, it flowed out just a little bit more, and Bob's your uncle. We're going to do the same on the other side, and then we're going to do the ground wings. Okay, I'll see you back in a second. Okay, now the fun. So we've got to solder on the shield slash ground lugs, and they're going to take some heat. So I've got my soldering iron turned right up to 480 C, which is 900 Fahrenheit. And we're going to use a little bit more flux because these are slightly more challenging.
And you're going to have to hold on them a bit longer to get them up to temperature. There's a lot more thermal mass there, both in the jacks themselves and in the ground plane that they're connected to.
Yeah, and make sure you've got a nice big length of solder ready to go. I'm going to clean our tip. We're going to pre-tin it, and we're just going to do one with you. Well, maybe we'll do two. But you can see I'm going to actually come in here. I'm going to be pressing fairly hard, and I'm going to put a drop of solder to see if it's flowing. And it's starting to flow, so I'm going to fill that space in. And I'm going to hold for a couple of seconds, and then I'm going to pull. Okay, so I've finished up the second ground wing. One of them actually is plenty. So you might wonder, why are we soldering two wings on? Well, it'll help structurally hold the jack in place because we are going to be plugging in and pulling out, hopefully for a very long time. So that's the right side. So soon you put a lot of heat into the jack, so give it a few seconds to cool off before you start mucking around with it.
And careful about touching the bare metal of the jack too. It's going to be fairly hot.
Yeah, this will be hot as well. So let's just back this off. Your holder will be possibly slightly melted. This is actually a holder that I use on the bench all the time, so it's more than slightly melted, but it's still working good. So let's have a look at it. And there's not a lot of flow through. It should be cooled off now. We're going to do a little stressing test on it, and it's on solid. So I'm not going to fuss with coming in on the other side. If you did get some flow through, that's excellent. But I wouldn't worry too much about it. You've got enough of an electrical connection and structural connection here, here, and here. So you should be good. So go ahead and jump in and finish up the left side. If your pads don't look as perfect and neat as mine do, and Charles's normally even look better than what I can do, don't fuss about it. So long as you have a nice fill and a good connection, call it good. Okay, I'll see you back in a minute. Okay, well done. This is actually one of the harder soldering jobs to do in any of our kits. And of course, the jacks on a kit are always the signal in and possibly the signal out if it's a preamp.
They're very important. Maybe not the most important thing, but very important to get right.
Yeah. In fact, anytime we're working around the signal path itself, we want to be really careful to get things right. So after they've cooled off, the last thing you want to do is put these collar spacers on, and they just screw on easily, and they will help support the jacks with the top plate. And they do a great job at doing that. So
make sure they're threading on fairly straight, and they should drop all the way down and stay on.
Yeah, they should be fairly close to being tight to the bottom. Okay, well done everyone.